with. And as I'm here standing now, if I get any schools coming to me and asking me, particularly if they haven't gone down a route in particular already, I'm often coming back to Seesaw and saying, look, this is probably the platform for you. If your school has got lots of iPads in it, Seesaw is potentially the platform for you. Or if your staff are not ready for a huge journey in technology, then Seesaw might be the platform for you. If you've got children there from years 1 to 4, then Seesaw is probably the platform for you. And I can't say that any of these platforms are perfect, but Seesaw seems to be standing out as the one that is gathering momentum and having the most legs on it. Google Classroom, well, the development that's gone into that product is a little bit pointed in terms of what we want for primary schools. Okay, we can talk more about that later if you wish. Just to let you know, this is part of the EdTech demonstrator program. If you're a school or an early years setting in England, there's a little form that you need to fill in. Either you will have done that already, or I will chase you for it later. But let's talk about Seesaw, and this is supposed to be a quick blast into it. So here are some points that we can look at and consider for Seesaw. We'll look at some of the features of Seesaw. I've said here an in-depth look. Well, it may not be that in-depth. It may be a quick glance into a few of these things, but I hope that it will open up some doors for you in terms of simplicity of use, in terms of access to this easily, and in terms of making it work well for you. Okay. And to talk about some of the technicalities of it, well, Seesaw does actually have 2 apps. There's a Seesaw Class app and there's a Seesaw Family app. And my advice to schools seems to have been, it's tended to have been the same as Seesaw was saying back down in the lockdown period, which was to give the students one account and let them share that with their relatives, with their parents or carers, so that they're using one login to get into Seesaw. And that would appear to be the most straightforward route. Seesaw seem to have gone back to their family app a little bit more recently, but I'm still not convinced that having those 2 systems running is necessarily going to work for you as circumstances are. Okay, I'm just going to come back and let those people in. Questions and answers, pitch in the conversation. If anybody wants to unmute at some point and pipe up, you are very welcome to do that. Okay. Okay, a few pros and cons. It's been around for quite some time. There are schools that are quite happily using Seesaw for bits and pieces, and obviously with situation recently that played into their hands quite nicely. You will probably want to pay some money towards use of Seesaw. There are some options for making that work quite cheaply for you, and there are ways to sort of dip your toe into it and then kind of make decisions further down the line. But if you're looking at an entirely free option, then that might be a limiting factor for you. But as I said, as £100 a year yourself through the coming year, so do not let that put you off. It's got a really easy interface for teachers and children. I'll say really easy interface. The most easy interface that we've got in front of us, really. Not that there aren't a few bits of complexities in there. Not that there aren't a few bits that you have to try out and then sort of experiment with a little bit and then be assured that it works. And hopefully this session today will help you with that. Children can access Seesaw through the web. You can also access it with the app. Seesaw Class app is the route that I'm recommending for everyone, and that will run on tablets as well, such as Amazon tablets and Android tablets. So it's probably the option that is least hungry when it comes to the newest technology. So if children have got devices that are 5 years old, it may well still work on them, which is obviously advantageous. a few other bits there for you to look at. I will send these slides through to everybody following the training later in the week. And of course, we're all thinking about various situations at the moment where we've got perhaps some children at home who are isolating. We might have a whole bubble of children at home, and we need to continue teaching to those children even though they're at home. We've got children in classes at the moment who are sort of getting geared up to using these systems in case they are sent home. So we've got all these different situations happening at the moment. Everybody's rather more stressed by it when they're in school, that's for sure. And so this platform can hopefully slot in and help. And the feedback I'm seeing and the stories I'm seeing about Seesaw continue to be positive generally about its use. So go forward feeling pleased about this platform, and you should be able to achieve quite a lot without too many headaches, hopefully. A couple of points here about what you can do with it. Voice recording and annotation, these are key advantages of the product. Pasting links in simply with nice little previews there. And just to point out, I will go through this in a moment, but using this post-student work, which you'll see here on the right, is a kind of everyday way to send over a PDF to the children in your class or bubble or group or whatever it might be. So you've got this post-student work, but you can also assign an activity, and that's a slightly more involved sort of interactive mode of working. Okay, so there's these two modes. If you send an announcement, you're basically sending over a message, slightly different to posting student work, but actually you may find that the send announcement doesn't get used as much as you might think in the end. Seesaw doesn't have a situation where you can put a class into different groups and then select a group by group. You can select individual children and send things just to those children, but you can't, for example, have your blue maths group or your yellow maths group or whatever it might be set up, which is a shame because it means a bit more manual clicking. But just a little point there before it comes up. And there's another slide here about really what we're trying to achieve with this. There's a little glimpse there of a class that got rather involved in Seesaw and kind of video heavy, and nobody is really suggesting that you have to go the whole hog and create this kind of video based platform of communication. But it has to be said that by recording your voice and recording short bits of video of yourself, you do start to bridge a gap and make the parents and the children feel connected with the school, even if it's pre-recorded. So if you're reluctant to go down that route, I'll just say, dip your toe in, have a go. You can record just your voice to start with if you like, or you can take a picture of yourself and then record a little message, and you will find that the sort of community that it builds for you is really, really worthwhile. I know there's a bit of a jumping point there for staff to feel comfortable with that, which is understandable, and we've all been through it where we record our voices and delete it 20 times before we're comfortable with what we've got. But certainly the more you do it, the more you will feel okay. Right, there's a couple more slides on here as well, but I'm not going to talk about those necessarily today because it's such a short burst, but you will get sent this through. I'm just going to come back to you guys. I can see that there's something in the conversation that I'm going to just glance at. It's just a thanks, no problem. Jacob sent you over the message. Okay, so let's go into Seesaw itself and some of the features from there. Oh, and it's just popped up onto a data protection impact assessment for Seesaw, which is a side of Seesaw which has come up. Any products that you use you know, are supposed to have been thought through in terms of GDPR and data protection. And I will also be forwarding this document over to you. It's our assessment of Seesaw in terms of its data usage. Right, over to Seesaw. Here is a glimpse into a real class as it stands at the moment, from the school in which I teach. And you'll see, looking down here, it was being used here. When was this? October the 18th, as a way for teacher to communicate with a child who is not in school currently, but as a way to keep track of what the child is doing. So this is down at Key Stage 1. Certainly down at Key Stage 1, Seesaw is finding lots of friends in terms of how it works. So you can see the comments coming back here from child's parent. You can see comment coming from the teacher. And you can see down here, look, here was a task that was set involving modeling. And if I was to click this little video here, it will come up and start to play a video of a child who's made. Let's just have a little glimpse at that.
So you're on videoing.
So I used that egg ball.
So the child is describing the junk modelling that he did. So you can see that the interaction between home and school is really quite fluid, and it's a really lovely glimpse into what's going on at home during period outside, and actually really quite easy to put this video element in together. Here's another one that's come back. You'll see it's some written work, and it's been placed on a table with some photographs, and then this little comment here has been kind of overlaid into Seesaw from the parent about what was going on. So this gives you a nice glimpse. These are all real world examples of children who've been at home recently, but have been interacting with class, interacting with the work that's been set to them, and you get a sort of glance at what this can look like as an interface. You'll see you get these little numbers up here which are telling you, there's something over here that needs your attention. Okay, so the nice thing that Seesaw does is flag up everything that's happened in here so that you can either approve it or not approve it. I'm going to go into another class now, which just shows you exactly that. Look, there's two unapproved posts here. This is a fake class of mine, and you can also see down here sort of work that's been annotated as a PDF, White Rose Maths, and you can see, look, I've chucked in a link from the Oak National Academy, and the child will be able to click on the link there to go directly to that lesson. And there's also, look, celebration assembly. So this is a live event from Teams. It could be from Google Meet, it could be from Zoom. They all work with having a link, just as this meeting today did. And so the children can click on there. And I like the way you can have these big previews. I like the way you can add little comments on there like that. Okay, let's set up a class. Let's go through that really quickly. So I'm going to go in here, and you'll see here, create new class. Now, when you create a Seesaw account, it will take you through this process anyway, but let's go through it. Create new class, and I'm going to just call it Monday class. American product, so let's imagine we're year 3, so in here that would be grade 2. Notice it has got this import from Google Classroom. We actually use that at our school because our tech setup means that our classes get set up in Google Classroom automatically from our MIS. So if you've got that going on, then that could be useful for you, but you don't have to use it. So I'm setting up my class, and here we go. A cheesy American video, as they normally are, for you to watch there. And you'll see you've got a sample student. And if I go down to here to students, it takes me through some options. Now today, I mean, Seesaw allows you to log in with a Google account, which can actually be quite a useful thing depending on what's going on in your school with devices. You can have a Google account lead into Seesaw as well as another way. So we use this, but for the younger children, we use the QR code function that's in Seesaw as well. So there are reasons why you might be using that, but today let's imagine it's a no. And when you get to here, I'm recommending, because you need this set up so that children have an individual account, that you say one-to-one devices, even if the children don't actually have a device which is theirs, which is for the most part most schools. So we go to that. So it's just a case of children would log in, but they also would log out of Seesaw afterwards. And here we go, add students to the class. Now I have got down here my list I've been using for a while of children's names. I'm going to paste that in here, and you'll see it doesn't need a CSV file or whatever, but you can paste from an Excel sheet or something like that, and then I get my class set up. I was thinking this set of names would become irrelevant, but it still seems relevant. And this bit will come up. Now, this is trying to get you to log in class, okay? But actually, that's a little bit of a step you can avoid, actually. They could log in this way and then choose their name, but I'm going to forget that for the moment. I'm going to close that, because, and you see the children's names are down here on the right. You'll see up here you've got get home learning codes, which is a brilliant thing that Seesaw put on here. So if I go in here, you'll see that if I go to my Monday class and I'm going to go to print codes, you will see in here that each child gets an A4 page, which could be printed. The way I've recommended it is that schools print 2 of these pages on one A4, and then you've got a lovely size that could be guillotined around the top here, just above the child's name, down here, and then below the QR code. And if you were to stick that in a reading record, then you've got a really solid spot for children to either pick up their reading record and scan their way in with the QR code, or use this 16-digit code, and it also points them to the class app, which is where we want the children to go. So that's a current recommendation generally, to print this half size in reading records, and password nightmares should be a thing of the past. You'll see down here, this code runs for a whole year. Okay, so you probably, you would do another one at the beginning of next year, but you would most probably do that anyway. Right, back to Seesaw itself, and let's do a couple of basics from here. So if I go to add, in fact, actually just before we do that, I'm going to show you that up here under the spanner, these are the settings for your class. And if I go in there, there's one thing that I'm going to change, and it's this: students can see each other's work. I want that off, probably, because I don't want this big free-for-all. I want to keep the communication between me and the students to be private. I don't really want one child looking at another child's work, even though obviously there's a nice community aspect of that. We're not here to make comparisons, really, and we don't really want parents doing that either. So we turn that one off. It's a shame it's not always off. Everything else can stay as it is. Okay, you'll see in here, new items require approval. Great. Item editing. Yeah, they can edit any item they put in there. I've got family access off, okay, because I'm just using the student logins. I'm not using the class blog. You could use that if you want. I haven't used that much in the past. Some schools have found it quite good. If I go to student likes and comments, which may put the media in you, you will see student likes are off. I like that being off. We don't want it. Again, this is not a popularity contest. Enable student comments, yes, but they require approval. So as it's set, everything that a child does, everything that a parent or carer might post in here, you will be flagged up and you have to approve it before it goes in here. And because I've changed this thing to off anyway, put in there doesn't get seen by others anyway. Okay, so that's settings. You can have a look at other things under there if you wish. Now if I go to add, I'm going to go just to post student work. Now this can be for obviously for children posting their work, but teachers actually end up using this as well to post something to lots of children at once. So if we go to post student work, you'll see my options here. The link was the bit I used where I was having a preview of some other website. You know, it could be National Oak Academy, it could be something from BBC, could be anything. I'm just going to send a link. I can write notes if I wish, and in fact you can put hyperlinks in here as well. It's just a simple way to put notes in there. I can record a video. If I click on that, it will use my webcam, and then I can record a video and send it to them. Or, like I said, you could record a photo. Let's have a go at that. You can get a photo of me. I'm in my loft room, which needs plenty of decoration, I'm afraid, but here we go. Let's smile nicely. Not the best picture. There we go. But I can then add some text on there. God, it's like some kind of message from the deep depths of hell, isn't it? I won't be sending that to them, but I could write a message to children on here. I could record my voice if I wanted. I would probably take that again. I probably wouldn't do it in my loft room. Upload. Now this is the most important part in many ways if you want to get stuff over to children. If I go to upload, I can either drag and drop files on here. It could be a PDF. It could be a load of images if you wish, but let's go down here, select from computer. I'm going to just choose a PDF document that I've got here. It's an old classic, actually. You might recognize these. They've stood the test of time, actually, I have to say. And I've chosen this because you see over here on the right, there are 8 pages in this PDF. All right, so if you're using something like White Rose Maths, you'll see that there are 2 pages in that PDF, and any PDF that you that comes over to you will often be multiple pages. So on here, I'm going to write a little comment for children. Choose 4 of these problems to solve, please. Okay, and I can put that on there on the front page, and I can post that, and I'm going to post it to all of them, and off it goes. Go. Now, I'll show you soon what it looks like for the child. So I'll actually, I'm going to log in with this iPad here and show you what it looks like from their point of view. Let's just leave it at that for the time being, because we are doing this in a really short burst. Now, if a child wanted to, they can go to View Original. and they'll be able to actually get to that document. Okay, so if you've got children who wanted to print things, they could. But of course, many families don't have printers or don't want to use their printers all the time. And so one of the great things that Seesaw has is the annotation tools that were in there. Okay, I've shown you some other examples from here. Anyway, and we can come back to this idea a bit later. I'm just aware that we need to blast on through. So I'm going to get those home learning codes up again. I'm going to go to Monday class. And I hope you can see, let's go for Frank Spencer. There we go. Okay, so I've just logged in to iPad, and what I'm going to do, you imagine that QR code is printed in Frank Spencer's reading record. I'm going to scan in, actually from the screen, but of course it will be on paper, and I'll scan into Seesaw class as a child. I imagine a number of you probably have iPads in your schools, and so if you're working with young children, this is a relevant way to do it. But even if you are using PC laptops or Chromebooks, then Seesaw will let you log in this way. So Seesaw class, you can see there, and you see I'm a teacher or I'm a student. Of course, if a teacher has an iPad or any sort of mobile device, having the Seesaw app on there is a useful thing to have. I'm a student. Go to, and let me just minimize that for a moment. And a bit weird for you. Got it. Okay, so QR codes log in really, really well. It just needs a little glimpse of it and it logs in. Notifications, okay. So this is what I'm looking at in Frank Spencer's account. And I'm going to go down here and I'm going to copy and edit this piece of work. Excuse it a moment, it's a slightly older iPad. You see, here we go on page 2. Now look, I'm going to have a go at this one. You can see that I can zoom in. You can see that I can have a go at making this, filling this in. Okay, so I'm going to choose that. And I'm going to start to complete this. So the point is that by annotating onto PDFs, you open up the ability for children to work in this way without printing. Okay, and I'm not suggesting that everything will be done on screen with annotations, but this does open up quite a bit for a certain number of children. I think actually the truth is we want a combination of work in books and on screen, so you need to think really carefully about the kind of interaction between let's make sure I get it right, the interaction between the screen and the teacher and the child learning. Okay, and there's a lot there to think about in terms of how we structure activities, but you know, it's not the same as having a PDF document that you print and use in the classroom. You have to think about, where is the child using it? Is the child looking at the document on the screen and then working into a book, and how do you guide them towards that? So there's a bit to think about in those terms. Right, so I've copied and edited it, and I've added something in there, and you can see it's waiting for teacher approval. Look, just while we're here, I'm going to take a picture of my keyboard just to show you what it's like to post a picture of something. Just upload, and you know, child could point something out and discuss it or whatever. Okay, so it's a way to relay back information. It's quite powerful, really. I could click the audio button there start recording. I'm going to say, have you ever wondered why most keyboards use capital letters? You might see on Chromebooks that they have lowercase, which I actually much prefer. And let's post that. Okay, so the device is about 5 years old. I haven't tried it out with Amazon tablets. I haven't seen it, but the apps are available there. And from what I can tell, Seesaw's quite, is one of the easier platforms for children to actually get access to. So we've posted a couple of things there. Let's come out of there and back to where we were as a teacher. And back into our class. It was in here, wasn't it? Now this account that you'll see I'm in is set up. It's actually one account which is running 3 real classes of it. There's a fake class there as well. And so I'm just hinting at how you might be able to structure your Seesaw setup if you're dipping your toe into this product and you need to utilize it over the coming weeks. By working in that way, you can minimize your costs while still accessing, the majority of features that are in here. Right, I'm going to carefully come back